Antibiotics have been a game changer in the field of medicine, transforming the way we treat bacterial infections and saving countless lives. Before antibiotics, even minor infections could be deadly, and surgeries carried a high risk of infection. But with the discovery of antibiotics, doctors finally had a powerful tool to fight bacterial infections. Antibiotics have been a game changer in the field of medicine, transforming the way we treat bacterial infections and saving countless lives. Before antibiotics, even minor infections could be deadly, and surgeries carried a high risk of infection. But with the discovery of antibiotics, doctors finally had a powerful tool to fight bacterial infections. The story of antibiotics begins in the early 20th century, with the discovery of penicillin by Scottish scientist Alexander Fleming. Fleming noticed that a mold called penicillium was able to kill certain bacteria, and he went on to isolate the active ingredient, penicillin. But it wasn't until the 1940s that penicillin was mass-produced and became widely available, thanks in part to the efforts of American scientists Howard Florey and Ernst Chain. The discovery of penicillin marked the beginning of the antibiotic era, as scientists began to search for other compounds that could fight bacterial infections. Over the years, a number of different antibiotics were discovered, each with its own unique properties and uses. Some, like tetracycline and erythromycin, were derived from bacteria found in soil or other natural sources. Others, like cephalosporins and carbapenems, were developed through chemical synthesis. As antibiotics became more widely used, they began to have a profound impact on society. Infections that had once been deadly could now be treated with a simple course of antibiotics, and surgeries became much safer as the risk of infection was greatly reduced. Antibiotics also enabled the development of new medical procedures, like organ transplants and chemotherapy, which rely on the ability to suppress the immune system without risking infection. But as with any powerful tool, there are also risks associated with the use of antibiotics. One of the biggest challenges we face today is antibiotic resistance, which occurs when bacteria evolve to become resistant to the antibiotics we use to treat them. This can happen when antibiotics are overused or misused, allowing bacteria to develop resistance over time. To combat antibiotic resistance, scientists are working to develop new antibiotics that can overcome resistant strains of bacteria. They are also exploring alternative approaches to fighting bacterial infections, such as using bacteriophages, viruses that infect and kill bacteria, or boosting the body's own immune system. Antibiotic resistance is a complex problem, and it requires a multifaceted approach to solve. In addition to developing new antibiotics, we also need to be more careful and responsible in our use of antibiotics. This means using them only when necessary, and following proper dosing and timing guidelines. We also need to invest in research to better understand how antibiotic resistance develops and spreads, and to develop new ways to prevent and treat resistant infections. In conclusion, the discovery of antibiotics has been one of the most important developments in medical history, revolutionizing the way we treat bacterial infections and improving countless lives. But as we continue to use antibiotics, we must also be mindful of the risks associated with their use, and work together to combat antibiotic resistance and ensure that these life-saving drugs remain effective for years to come. And that brings us to the end of our video on the miracle of antibiotics. From the discovery of penicillin to the ongoing battle against antibiotic resistance, antibiotics have had an enormous impact on medicine and society. While there are challenges to be faced, we can be grateful for the many lives that have been saved and improved thanks to this remarkable discovery. Thank you for watching, and we hope you enjoyed learning about the miracle of antibiotics.